Oh, she's in big trouble.
Why?
She's in big trouble. The momentum of the whole campaign has changed over the course of a couple of weeks. Trump is very much on the up. You're seeing a side of Donald Trump, whether it's McDonald's, whether it's the speech he gave at the Al Smith dinner. You're beginning to see who Trump really is in public, which is a very entertaining, humorous man. You can disagree with him. You can find what he says outrageous, but he is an entertaining guy. And when Trump's smiling, Trump's winning. And she's desperate, and I've no doubt these attacks will become even more hysterical over the next few days.
Now, the leader of Reform UK is a friend and supporter of Donald Trump and has been called plenty of names by his political opponents. So it's probably a good day to have him here on the morning that this happened.
So yesterday we learned that Donald Trump's former chief of staff, John Kelly, a retired four-star general, confirmed that while Donald Trump was president, he said he wanted generals like Adolf Hitler had. Donald Trump said that because he does not want a military that is loyal to the United States Constitution. He wants a military that is loyal to him. He wants a military who will be loyal to him personally, one that will obey his orders even when he tells them to break the law or abandon their oath to the Constitution of the United States. In just the past week, Donald Trump has repeatedly called his fellow Americans the enemy from within, and even said that he would use the United States military to go after American citizens. And let's be clear about who he considers to be the enemy from within. Anyone who refuses to bend a knee or dares to criticize him would qualify, in his mind, as the enemy within, like judges, like journalists, like nonpartisan election officials. It is deeply troubling and incredibly dangerous that Donald Trump would invoke Adolf Hitler, the man who is responsible for the deaths of 6 million Jews and hundreds of thousands of Americans. All of this is further evidence for the American people of who Donald Trump really is. This is a window into who Donald Trump really is, from the people who know him best, from the people who worked with him side by side in the Oval Office and in the Situation Room. And it is clear from John Kelly's words that Donald Trump is someone who, I quote, certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, who in fact vowed to be a dictator on day one and vowed to use the military as his personal militia to carry out his personal and political vendettas. Donald Trump is increasingly unhinged and unstable. And in a second term, people like John Kelly would not be there to be the guardrails against his propensities and his actions. Those who once tried to stop him from pursuing his worst impulses would no longer be there, and no longer be there to rein him in. So the bottom line is this: we know what Donald Trump wants. He wants unchecked power. The question in 13 days will be, what do the American people want? Thank you.
What do you think of that response?
Oh, she's in big trouble.
Why?
She's in big trouble. The momentum of the whole campaign has changed over the course of a couple of weeks. Trump is very much on the up. You're seeing a side of Donald Trump, whether it's McDonald's, whether it's the speech he gave at the Al Smith dinner. You're beginning to see who Trump really is in public, which is a very entertaining, humorous man. You can disagree with him. You can find what he says outrageous, but he is an entertaining guy. And when Trump's smiling, Trump's winning. And she's desperate, and I've no doubt these attacks will become even more hysterical over the next few days.
But talking of hysterical attacks, I mean, Donald Trump himself, he insults Kamala Harris all the time. And talk about her mental health. He says she's crazy, lazy, the worst, has a low IQ, stupid, asks if she's on drugs, is slow. all of those I've just given, he said those in the last 2 days. That's not a smiling, happy man. That's an insulting man.
What I think actually serving fries and putting salt on them at a McDonald's drive-through is really quite entertaining and quite humorous. And yeah, look, this is American politics.
But we're not talking about him being in McDonald's. We're talking about the insults that he levels at Kamala Harris.
Yeah, that's the game in America. They all insult each other.
So it's okay when Kamala Harris does it too?
No, I haven't complained. I fully expect Kamala Harris to say these things. I fully expect, some people within US media to throw this out. It's all irrelevant. None of it really matters.
What does matter then?
What does matter is the Western world. What does matter is defence and security. What does matter is the Middle East. What does matter is what is going on with China, their naval expansion, the war in Ukraine, and the fact that the West needs a strong leader. I mean, remember, under 4 years of Trump, no foreign wars launched. The first American president for several terms to do that. Huge agreements taking place between Arab states and Israel. And frankly, the Biden presidency, in terms of the safety of the world, has been a catastrophe.
Words do matter, though, don't they? And we're hearing this morning, the New York Times is reporting about this. And also we've heard from John Kelly, Donald Trump's former White House chief of staff, saying the former president fits into the general definition of a fascist, and said that Trump spoke of the loyalty of Hitler's Nazi generals.
This stuff is just ridiculous.
But did he say that?
I don't know. And you know what? I've got friends who say when they come into London Bridge next to your studios, at least Mussolini made the trains run on time. It doesn't make them fascists. It's a form of talking. Look...
It matters if potentially the next president of the United States was talking about the loyalty of Hitler's Nazi guards.
Look, do you know what? None of it matters. It's all nonsense. It's all nonsense. I've talked about the international picture. The other picture,
but
of
would
course...
you say it if it doesn't matter?
No, I wouldn't.
Why not?
Oh, goodness me. None of this matters. This may matter to you. You may think this is a really big deal.
I'm just confused. There's a tension that you're saying it doesn't matter, but you wouldn't be prepared to say it yourself. So it does.
People in politics will say almost anything. You know, I've had very similar things said about me by many people over many, many years. And do you know what? I don't even respond to it. Let the public make their own judgment.
OK, let's talk about some of the things that you've said, particularly this row that's been developing now between Donald Trump and potentially the Labour Party.
Yeah.
You've said Starmer made a terrible decision allowing activists to go to the US. Why was it a terrible decision?
Well, it's not just activists. In fact, we're seeing photographs this morning of Labour MPs who've been in America this year being photographed with Joe Biden. We understand Morgan McSweeney and very senior staff.
You're an MP that's been in the States, stood alongside Donald Trump at rallies.
Yeah, but I paid my own airfare. That's the point. You know, there are two things you are not supposed to do under Federal Electoral Commission rules. One is to have paid-for visits to America if you are a foreign national. And if you remember the advertisement that appeared on LinkedIn from Sophia Patel, basically said, look, you know, come on in, the water's lovely, everything's going to be free.
Well, she said, we'll sort your housing.
Yeah,
she didn't say everything's going to be free.
She didn't say you've got to pay your own airfare, did she? Or anything like that. She didn't say as a staffer you'd have to be on unpaid leave. None of that was said, and that's the problem. But look, you know, there is electoral commission law in America. On the face of it, the Labour Party are in breach, and therefore the Democrats are in breach for accepting it. But
Can I check really quickly, Nigel, have any of your flights to the US ever been paid by someone who wasn't you?
Not if I was going to actively involve myself in the Trump campaign, no.
OK, so there's a difference there.
Of course. I have been going back and forth to America for over 40 years. You know, I had considerable business interests in America before I got involved in politics. And I do still go to America, although it'll be less now. I'm an MP. I do go to America. I do speak at business conferences, etc. But, you know, when I appeared on stage with Trump at rallies, etc., I've always paid my own way and always been very conscious of what American electoral law is.
And conscious, presumably, about what you say.
Yes.
Let's just listen to you at one rally. I think this was in 2016.
But I will say this. If I was an American citizen, I wouldn't vote for Hillary Clinton if you paid me. In fact, I wouldn't vote for Hillary Clinton if she paid me.
So I was actually being uber cautious. I could have just gone along and said, look, I'm a foreigner, a Brexiteer, we've just won a big referendum, I think you should vote for Donald Trump. I could have done that under law, but I thought I'd be cautious, really cautious. So the sentence before that was, I couldn't tell you who you should vote for.
But then you said who you wouldn't. So
Well,
we know
well,
what
I was
you
having
meant, Nigel.
that's called having a bit of fun. And anyway, had I said vote for Donald Trump, that of itself would not have been against American rules.
Can the Labour people who went, Morgan McSweeney, they wanted an experience of the Democratic National Convention. They're a sister party with the Democrats. What actually do you think is wrong about them
That's
going?
a fair point. That's exactly a fair point. However, before they went, the press story was they were going to give advice to the Democrats on how to target because of how successful Morgan
They say
McSweeney...
they haven't given any advice.
That was what was said at the time. That was what... And they're backtracking on everything. But don't you think we're missing the really important point? The really important point isn't Federal Election Commission law, all right, or the fine points of a few $10,000 here, $50,000 there. Here's the real point. Trump's going to win. You know, I'm 90% confident of that. And this country, our relationship with America in terms of shared intelligence, in terms of being the linchpins of NATO at a very dangerous time, in terms of, you know, we are still, believe it or not, the biggest foreign investor in America. They are the biggest foreign investor here. These links and ties are vital. This relationship is our most important relationship in the world. And for a newly elected governing Labour Party to actively be seen to be backing the other side in an election is a very big political
Why
mistake.
is Trump worried about this? It almost suggests that these are hundreds or so, plus Morgan McSweeney, the real clout of the Labour Party, if they could be such a threat to the Republicans that they could influence the election and help the Democrats.
That is not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is our relationship with the USA. And frankly, for Starmer to go...
Is Donald Trump really that rattled about this? You're his friend. You know, when
human
people have
beings-
upset him in the past, let's say David Lammy, and he had some extremely choice language to say about Donald Trump. That seems to be water under the bridge. Is Donald Trump really insulted and worried about this?
Trump actually is a very forgiving person.
Well, so therefore,
But
what
this
now
is
do you think
not-
is the damage that's been done to the relationship? If you say that, he's a forgiving man.
Well, he is a forgiving man, but he takes a little bit of time. It makes no sense for a British government, I repeat, it makes no sense for a British government to get involved openly backing a candidate with less than a fortnight to go before the American elections, especially if Trump wins. It is not good diplomacy. It's not good politics. It's not grown up.
But you think Donald Trump would forgive Keir Starmer?
Ultimately, but maybe not for a bit. And why get the relationship off to a bad start? It's ludicrous.